life engineering, processes that combine science, wisdom, and spirituality to build a life of alignment. Joining Dr. Pat is your host, Gabriela Embon, bringing you bi-weekly wisdom nuggets, your step-by-step guidance to build a life of no regrets. Stay tuned as they uncover powerful processes for you to realize your true potential. Are you ready for some magic wisdom? Life engineering starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome. I want to just welcome you to this very special edition with Gabriela Embon. And the reason that I want to introduce you to life engineering with Gabriela is because we have been doing a series, and the series we've been doing takes what most people would look at as real complex things in life. And Gabriela takes them and breaks them down into pieces that you can apply immediately. This is why I love doing this. Now, a lot of times what you don't expect is you don't expect us to do a show like this that has to do with joy. But I want to tell you, living with joy, practical steps to create a joyful life. This is the key, because if you can't tap into this, you can't understand the importance of how to life engineer this. Think about what your day is like. Now, I want you to imagine that you can. Imagine that you can. Because Gabriela, right? After this show, they will.
Absolutely. Listen, our soul is a party animal. So it has that capacity for so much joy, right? It's just up to us to open and increase that capacity and remove the blocks to experience more joy as we move forward in life. So this is what this show is all about, and is inspired by a healing session that I did on myself recently on this topic. I felt that I had outgrown the state of joy that I was at, and I was ready to increase my capacity to feel more joy, a whole different level of joy. And that's what I love about this work, that it's not a one-time thing, right? Yeah. We're always reaching to the next level because, our soul is capable of so much more. So that's what today we're going to be exploring. And it's actually a continuity from the previous episode 14, in which we talk about living authentically. So yes, we're going to have a blast.
Yeah, we are. The reason I love that you're doing this is because we grow up sometimes thinking that joy is conditional. And what I mean by that, you're going to really help us. Joy is conditional, meaning, oh, Gabriela, you know what? I'm just going to show up here. Like, I'm going to experience a joyful show today, but only if ... happens, right?
That's right.
So you're going to help us create unconditional joy.
That's right.
Let's do it.
You said it so beautiful. It's unconditional, because let's be honest, when you think about the word joy, right? What are some synonyms that you would use to describe joy? Usually is what? What is it for you? It's happiness.
Happy is like number one, right?
Right. Happy, fun. When I'm having fun, I'm experiencing joy, feeling exhilarated, right? So, but then when you go, okay, I can't feel like that all the time, not unconditionally, right? So I was doing this session on myself, and I was channeling the information, and I asked, tell me, what is joy? Because if it's happiness, if it's fun, then come on, I can't always feel that, right? I don't always feel that way. So does it mean that I'm not always in a state of joy? And then when I ask, give me the definition of joy, which I will share, I wasn't given the definition right away. I was shown a memory. Mm-hmm. So what the creator's voice said, you know what? Let me show you a memory. And it took me back, I'm making the calculation now, 17 years ago, that when I actually was about to have a minor surgery. I was about to have a DNC, or an abortion for a pregnancy that wasn't going well. I wanted to have a second child, and I was 3 months pregnant, and it wasn't developing. And the doctor said, we have to put you to sleep and we have to clean this. Now you can imagine, even now I'm sharing that I can feel my heart. You can imagine the emotions around that. This also was after a miscarriage I had previously. And I started questioning not only the grief, started questioning, will I ever have a second child? And I'm blessed with 3 beautiful ones. I'm not saying children anymore because the oldest is 22. So I'm blessed with 3. So, you know, a normal person would think that this is a reason to be sad and will want to grieve. And there was grieving, I'm not saying, but then there was a lot of fear too. It was a lot of fear, believe it or not, around the hospital setting, because I had never been hospitalized before just to give birth to my first child. And I never went as an adult through a surgery. So the whole setting was very scary for me. So I was petrified. And I remember lying down in the bed of the hospital, and I clearly showed that I was very, very nervous. And then I had an experience. The anesthesiologist, I wish I would know his name. All I remember is that he was an Asian doctor. The anesthesiologist saw that I was very nervous. And before he put the IV, he took his hand and he started calming me down and doing like this on my arm. And he said to me, think about happy things, anything that makes you happy, and everything is going to be over very soon. I remember the feeling of really calming down. I started thinking about my daughter, and then of course I was out. And then when I woke up, I actually experienced the most blissful state. And I felt that the staff that was taking care of me were like angels. Now you might say, okay, this is the effect of the anesthesia, but I can guarantee you it wasn't, because I recall every moment, every image, every word that was said to me, and the faces of the nurses. What ended up happening after that experience is that instead of saying, this is something I want to put in my past, I don't want to remember, I was trying to hold into that experience because it was so blissful and so joyful. At the moment, I felt pure bliss. When a normal person, we say, are you crazy? So what the creator showed me that, I'm like, what is that? Why are you showing me this memory? And the answer was very clear. I'm getting red from emotion. Joy is the ability to stay whole and connected despite life hurdles and challenges. It's the ability to stay whole and connected despite life hurdles and challenges.
Right.
And it's attained through connection. It's the pure experience. The Creator says joy is the pure experience of connection, and is the opposite of drama, which creates disconnection.
Yeah.
When I received those beautiful words, they're not mine, they were channeled, I was joyful. I was floored. And I said, okay, connection, what do you mean connection? And the Creator says, connection with yourself, first and foremost, connection with divine, connection with other people, the people around you, the experience, connection with the experience at the moment.
Yeah.
And when you are in that connection with the experience at the moment, you are in zero drama, no matter what the situation is, and you will experience that blissful joy.
I am so excited about you bringing this up. I want to tell you why. There's a couple of things I thought about as I got ready to do this show with you. You did a beautiful job describing something that is indescribable, because I too had a hospital experience, and you did a beautiful job of walking us through that. And I don't know how you did it without getting all teared up. But you're talking about a power that the divine has given us as human beings to switch on a dime from despair to joy. Now, I'm not saying all of us know how to do it. And trust me, I have been depressed a lot. My mom was so depressed, she committed suicide. So I understand that. I'm just saying to the people that are going to get ready to email me, but I want you to talk about why this is so powerful, because I work with young people, kids, the connection they have with the divine. This morning, I had a little dog here. The alarm went off, the fire alarm went off in the house. The dog was panicked, and you could see me pick up this little white ball of fur just and hold it and feel compassion and take it to a place to help it experience that flip of a switch joy. Aren't we capable of so much, Gabriela? Isn't this it? But we just don't know how to create it, how to flip it on, how to live with it, and how to help other people. Tell us about that.
We are capable. It requires a little bit of cleaning, because when there's joy, it's the opposite of drama, right? And we carry a lot of drama. And joy brings connection, or is what we experience when we are connected, while drama creates disconnection. So there's a little bit of work to be done there, a little bit, let's just call it that way. But we are capable. We might not be wired, and we're going to talk about that for a moment. But, you know, I just want to say, even if we don't have time to cover everything, I want to mention how important it is to teach our children spirituality, whether it's religion or spirituality, to believe in something. Because first of all, when children are young, they usually turn to their parents for help. That's right. But we are not going to always be there.
Nope.
And at a certain age, they don't turn to the parents anymore. They kind of become the parents of the parents, you know, things flip. So what are they going to do when they're adults and they cannot say, Mom, Dad, what should I do? Can you help me? Who are they going to turn to for a higher perspective? And that's how important it is to teach our children spirituality, because that faith, in a way, when a person grows to be an adult, we need that. As children, we have our parents. Young kids see their parents as gods. But then if we teach them that connection to divine, then they will have that for life, whether we're there or not. We're not always there physically or for whatever reason. They will always have that sense of connection and going to someone for advice, for connection, for faith. So that's one reason. The other reason is because when we teach children spirituality, we are teaching them to connect. It's part of the connection with themselves and connection with divine, which helps them lead a life of joy. And when we demonstrate to our children how to stay whole despite the challenges, for me, that's the biggest gift that we can offer our children.
Yeah.
Talking about children. Yeah.
There's nothing quite like it, is there? I mean, you could see the expression, right? You could see it, that connection. And that's why I said to you, this is very difficult to describe, and you're doing a beautiful job of it. But it's so deep inside of us. Joy is so deep inside of us. We're born with it. And it's so deep inside of it. All it needs is to spark it up a little bit every once in a while, right?
That's right. And connection is everything. Listen, I was talking with my daughter, who last week came back from a cruise in the Mediterranean. She did different Greek islands, and she was super happy, and, you know, she's a bubble of energy. So she was sharing the experience, but I pondered on her shares with us. And I realized that besides, yes, she visited like 4 or 5 different islands, but she didn't focus so much on the places she saw, except when she was in Athens, that she was fascinated. But she didn't focus so much on the places. She focused on the connections she made and the people she met. and the human experience.
Yeah.
Oh, you won't believe what happened. And then it was always about a connection with another person. So it is in us, is what takes that joy out of us, is the connection with ourselves, with divine, with other people, with the experience. So let's talk about how do we live? How do we start increasing our capacity? And this is what we're aiming. We're aiming to increase it. We're not aiming to go from 0 to 100, right? We're aiming to make a little bit more, even if it's 1% increment, that's fine, right? So the question is, are we truly wired to live joyfully? And the answer is probably no. Our ancestors were more in a survival mode than in a thriving mode. Humanity was in a survival mode. When I was doing the session on myself, I cleared a lot of programs of being persecuted and unsafe. So we have learned from past generations a lot of resilience, a lot of drive, a lot of strength, a lot of grit. But for me personally, the ability to feel the capacity for joy was missing. Because when we are in survival, what mostly runs our lives are coping mechanisms. Okay. And coping mechanisms, by definition, disconnect us from our true self to avoid pain and stay alive.
Yeah.
And if we talk about joy being connections, all these coping mechanisms part will disconnect us from ourselves. So that there's joy, there's no drama, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we can look at 4 different steps to increase the capacity of joy in our lives. And the first one is always, no matter what we're working on, is the awareness, right? The awareness that we are not truly living joyfully as much as we would like, despite having the conditions, as we say, it's conditional, and the desire to experience more joy. So that's the first step, of course. The second step is healing, right? In order for our survival self to calm down and allow for connection, to let go of these coping mechanisms, we have to do our healing. I believe every person needs healing. I'm not talking about psychology treatment. I'm talking about healing, okay? Not curing anybody, but healing. Every healthy person has to go through healing. And we're talking about healing our childhood wounds. We're talking about healing our ancestral line, because most of the programs of persecution and survival are from previous generations that got passed on through our DNA.
Yeah.
And when we do that healing, whether you have the tools to do it yourself or you seek help, right? We are increasing our capacity to trust too. And trust opens up for connection, right? It's hard to connect with others if I don't trust. And I know I owe you an episode on trust. I haven't.
Don't worry. That's all right. We're going to get to it, because I'm glad we're doing this one first.
Yeah,
I thought about it. To do first.
Yeah, I thought that the next one can be trust. Yes.
Yeah, totally. Right. I mean, look, you said it before. Let's go through this. I want to make sure everybody hears what we're talking about here today, because you're right about it. You need to be aware of it. And, a child is aware right out of the gate of whether or not they're hungry, whether or not they're annoyed. I mean, I was born into this world with an active addict and alcoholic mother. And if you don't think that my first arrival into this world, crying for 4 years, right? Surviving, but nobody understood that. So let's go through these, because these are so important. And there's another episode that we'll hopefully do on the many faces of healing, because I think healing is so misunderstood, Gabriela. I think it is so misunderstood. But keep going. I want to get all this in here.
Will. I love you're giving me ideas for future episodes, but trust is probably the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
I get inspired with something, but I don't think so. So we talk about awareness, we talk about healing, and then of course is living authentically, which is what we discussed in the previous episode. How do we want to serve? What are we here for? What's the imprint that we want to live in this world? and then creating all of that. If the first 3 steps are more at the mind level and the emotional level and the clarity and the healing, the fourth is, okay, let's create that life of authenticity. Let's thrive. Let's aim for thriving. No more surviving. And it takes a decision. Just do it. Really, it's just decide that you're going to do that. Take the step and just start. And when you start, the magic happens. And these are the 4 steps: awareness, healing, find your authentic self, and go and create a life of authenticity, the vision of what you want, as well as the way you are creating it, the path, the journey itself.
Yeah, I want to get back to something you said, because I want to just say to everybody, we did a whole show on authentic self, but I want to go back to something, Gabriela, you said at the beginning. We're not saying that there may, we're not saying that these steps, you just go through them. I will guarantee you, if you did anything like the journey I took, or maybe even what Gabriela talked about, when I started on a different level of a spiritual journey, every aspect of these 4: awareness, healing, find your authentic self, and create a life, every one of these brought something up. Something came up. I don't know what to call it. Something came up that needed to be gone in my life. So we're saying that you've got to be aware and do the work that's needed to let go of those things that are going to keep you away from joy, right?
That's right. And it's I don't want to say it's a never ending, but it truly is.
It is never ending.
Except that as we are higher in the journey,
yeah,
it's not as harsh, it's not as
hard.
It's easier, right? The further we get, the easier it becomes. We even start enjoying that as well, because we know so much growth comes when we do these healings, and we're increasing our capacity. So it's the process of life. But for me, and you probably heard me say, this is what makes life worth living, right? It's a life of no regret. It's not about the results. It's about how I approach my life and what I dare doing, and doing the work. This is all of that is the work, and learning to be motivated with joy, because we come from paradigms of surviving and drama and disconnection, right? As we're doing this healing, we have to teach our brain new ways of being motivated, because all that pain and drama and coping mechanisms, they have motivated us to succeed, to build a good life. So we don't repeat, right? We don't repeat the stories that past generations went through. But the question is, okay, that was needed. That's great. Can we graduate? We don't keep using the same tools we use. When grade 1, 2, and 3, you don't use the calculator. You learn how to do your math manually. As you're moving towards high school, can you start using a calculator so you can build bigger things and do bigger things? So here is also, well, okay, I learned all of that. Can I now learn how to be motivated with joy, with authenticity, with fulfillment, and give myself permission not only to live this way, but to live without the pain, the drama, the constant worry, the fear, and with joy.
Yeah. See, what you talked about, and this is what I love, is you're talking about the building blocks, if I could call them, the building blocks of joyful living, meaning, Gloria Steinem said to me once, we stand on the shoulders of all that have come before. We stand on the shoulders of all that have come before that have influenced who we are today, our lives, our family, our ancestry, multi-generation. Some people have multi-past lives. Whatever that is, they are here to serve us and help us. But if we keep our eye on joy as the goal, I think you said it. This is what motivates us. I don't know about you, but my first experience of letting go of something big, the sense of freedom from that was amazing, right? That's really what we're talking. See, living a joyful life, isn't that a pathway to freedom?
Absolutely. Because it means you have let go of the obligations, the hooks, the stories that keep running your life, and you're allowing your higher self to guide you through your life, which is actually what freedom is all about, is to be in we think, oh, I'm free to choose what I want. Well, if your coping mechanisms I'm choosing for you, then you're not really free.
No.
Right?
No.
This is your survival self running, and the part that is solving problems, your undercurrent of the subconscious mind running the life for you without you knowing. That's not really freedom.
No.
Absolutely.
And it's not. And some people look at flight and fright, and flight and fright is true. Flight, right, and fight. And somebody asked me the other day, I said, they're not outcomes you want. You don't want fight or flight. You want the neutral zone. You don't, those, I said to somebody the other day, there's not joy in either one of them.
There's no joy in overcorrections are never joy.
Right.
Their lack of alignment. Joy comes when we are truly congruent to ourselves, and that requires connection. And the joy gets reinvented through the course of our lives because we keep working on ourselves. So the connection with ourselves gets deeper and deeper as we evolve. So does our capacity to experience joy. So we're always reinventing ourselves, and therefore we're always connecting. The more we connect with ourselves, the easier it is to connect with others.
Yeah.
And that's what comes to my mind is when people say, how can I be married? I'm going to be 25 years married in September.
Congratulations.
My next podcast, I'll be, thank you. So how can you be married for so many years and still find your partner interesting, attractive, surprising?